guest star, man. Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Well, in the coming weeks, we might actually be able to get back to Star Wars news because it's over. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing good, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Big news. It literally happened like right after we recorded the last show. So, like, we kind of looked, I would say that we would kind of look foolish because our show comes out after the SAG strike ends.
Right.
as we just do a tirade about the SAG strike.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how these things happen. But,
yeah, that's what it is.
But yeah, apparently it's over.
Yeah, so
apparently everyone's happy. Everyone's going to be rich and famous now.
Oh, is that what's changing?
I don't think so. No, but yeah.
But I mean, this means that I guess you wouldn't call it an embargo. There was a strike, but I'll use the word just for sake of having a word to put to it. But your embargo on interviews, promotional content,
right,
late night shows, all that is coming to an end.
Right.
So, it's probably going to take a minute, right? You know, these deals got to get finalized, and, you know, no one goes right back to work, you know, when these things end.
You got to get the ball rolling again. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, we can look forward to some Star Wars news again, hopefully. You know, the writers have been back at it for a minute. Now the actors will be able to go out and talk about the content. We might get to see some of the promotional touring for stuff that would have been delayed.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you're not going to get the full run that you would have got, but I mean, come on, they're going to want to take the opportunity to get the actors to promote Ahsoka.
Yeah.
You know, for as long as Disney Plus is still Disney Plus.
Right.
Which we'll see how all that shakes out, right? Like,
Yep.
You know, there's all these. It's tough to get. I haven't really brought it up yet. It's been going on for a minute now. But there's all this talk of how Disney Plus and Hulu are just going to merge into one thing because they're losing their ass with having two.
Right.
I mean, mainly not having two, but Disney Plus being what it is so hyper focused, right?
Yes, it is.
They're losing on Disney Plus.
Yeah, they have to be. I mean, you're specifically going there for, you know, the Star Wars content or the Marvel content. You know, those would be the two primaries, I think. And you know, then the Disney stuff. But that's
right. If
you got kids, you know, I mean, that's basically what it's there for. And you only got it because that stuff's exclusive to that.
And here's the problem with the Disney stuff, right? I guarantee a lot of these households, they can make the choice to not have Disney Plus for Disney content.
Right.
Because Disney has been very aggressive throughout my entire life with their advertising.
Yeah.
And they really make you think that you're never going to see a film available for sale again.
Absolutely.
You know, get it before it goes back into the vault. Like, okay, right. There are Disney collections being handed down generation to generation now. Okay.
My kids wore out VHS tapes of that stuff. Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
So, and that's the thing. Those VHS tapes that were worn out, a lot of them have been replaced with DVDs and Blu-rays, which are still usable content in most households.
Yep.
So you have these vast Disney collections because of these. And I use the word aggressive again, but it's the only word that fits, right?
Yeah, yeah.
aggressive ad campaigns like get it before it's gone. You know, you may never see it again. You know, it's like it's the same kind of thing like McDonald's does, right? Like you may never see the McRib again. You know,
exactly.
And then 3 years later they bring it back.
Right.
Oh, the last time was the last time, they swore.
Oh, of course. It'll be the last time until the next time.
Right.
It's kind of like Kiss, you know.
Right. What are they on? Like farewell tour
11?
11 or something like that?
Something like that.
They keep having new creative names for it. What's this one? End of the Road, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, even though it's funny, like Kiss comes up with this whole idea with the makeup and stuff like that, like the band will be able to go on because you could just replace and do this.
Yeah.
But the only one doing that's Guar.
Nice.
Messed up. But yeah. Looking forward to that, right? Maybe they'll be able to backfill the gallery content that they had to use for promotional content,
right?
And we'll get a gallery.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Actually, we talked about that. That I would love to see stuff like that. Stuff like that, you would think they'd be able to put together relatively quick. You know, that it would get us more content. You know, stuff that we could cover here on this show. Stuff that people are going to want to see. You know, I mean. And
I will say the lack of a gallery release after Ahsoka makes it very apparent that promotional material, Master Apprentice and stuff like that, that was cut from the gallery content to make promotional content with the strike going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt.
So, yeah, the Dave Filoni interviews when he talks about it, yeah, that was from gallery.
Right.
I mean, it was smart. It was smart. That was going to serve them better than waiting until after it was gone, than having no promotion whatsoever. Don't need another Solo, right?
Exactly.
So it was good to see that they learned from that, right? If we need promotional content.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So. But, I mean, speaking of Solo.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's no longer... Well, I guess I wouldn't say no longer, like, Disney's worst of... But it's no longer the worst of the Star Wars Marvel acquisition, right?
Right.
Box office-wise.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the Marvels was a big old flop.
Flopping around on the ground like a fish. Yes. The opening weekend for Marvels was $47 million. Which
solid
last, yes. For the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that makes it come in dead last of those movies. Yes. So, as you alluded to, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to take a look and just see here, in comparison to Star Wars on their opening weekends. So, Solo, which I think of the recent films, everyone would agree was probably the, least impactful, especially box office wise, of the Star Wars films. And its first weekend was $84 million. So, interesting. I mean,
now I gotta ask. Okay, we discussed this the potentiality of this a lot during COVID.
Yeah.
All right. We talked about what the streaming thing was going to do to the box office.
Yes.
And we talked about that at length. Like, we were very, very suspicious that the box office would never recover from this.
Right.
And I think this, you can take what, the backlash from fans about whatever, right?
Yep.
Take that out of this equation for right now. And like, look at Solo, right? Like, and use that as a comparison.
Yep.
Because you're talking, you said 80 something million?
84 for Solo.
84.
That's
so almost
2018.
double.
Yeah. Almost.
I mean, not quite, but getting there.
Yeah, getting there. Yeah.
On a film that, like, leading up to it, there were calls to boycott it. Right? Like,
yeah.
So, and it was all in backlash to the prior film.
Right. Yes.
That came out just a few months before it.
That is true.
So you had this solid movement to, like, boycott a film, and it still does almost double what this film's doing.
Yep.
And I've talked before about the Marvel fan base dedication. Like, they'll go see it. It's a lot like Star Wars fans in that regard.
Yeah.
Curiosity alone is going to get you in the theater. No matter how pissed off the last film made you.
Right.
It's going to get you in there. Because there's always the potential that this could be the one that turns the tables back, right?
Sure.
So, there's a loyalty to these fan bases. And this one seems really, really low.
Yeah. Now, I get the feeling that what you're getting at is that there's several factors at play here.
Yes.
I mean, you can
look at the number of flops that the box office is seeing regardless.
Yes, I agree with that.
This is an ongoing trend. The box office is not doing well for anything. Like, the ones that are doing really good, they're not doing what, like, Star Wars and the Avengers were doing. None of them.
True.
Avatar didn't even do it.
No, it didn't. I mean, that kind of just like faded from the headline kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, they didn't want to talk about it.
Right.
I mean, it did well.
Yeah.
Okay, like, it's not like it bombed. It did well. But it didn't do anything what they would have expected.
Right. So, okay. I'm looking just real quick. First thing that popped into my head, talking movies of late, that were successful, right? Most recent thing I would have to say was the Barbenheimer weekend, whatever you want to call it. Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yes.
So opening weekend for Barbie was $155 million. And Oppenheimer was $80.5 million. So,
and that was huge news.
Yes, exactly. Huge.
Compared to Avengers what?
Let's see. Avengers. So like the best box office opening weekend for Marvel Cinematic Universe was Avengers Endgame, opening weekend of $350 million.
Okay. Now, granted, I'm not going to put Barbie or Oppenheimer on the same level. That would be a ridiculous comparison.
Right.
But just think that number, that was a huge success.
Yeah.
Okay. And neither Barbie or Oppenheimer have that.
Well,
they didn't get, and the word I use there, they didn't have that. They didn't have that, so it wasn't half.
There was a thing about the Barbie and Oppenheimer movies though, right? There was a whole I don't know what you would call it, almost a meme, but like a thing people were doing, right? And that was going and watching both movies the same day. And
what was it, like depression and shame or something like that?
Yeah. Because, everyone kept, saying, it's like, okay, see Oppenheimer first. Otherwise you'll leave depressed. You gotta, Barbie is the upper for the Oppenheimer downer. So, my kids did this, and it was like, it was like a thing to do. You know what I mean? You had to, I don't know. It was a gimmick to go see them both that weekend. So, right. I don't know. It almost seems like it takes something like that in order to make it a thing.
But isn't Oppenheimer being touted as like the masterpiece of the year? Like.
Maybe I haven't necessarily heard that, but yeah, I mean.
So like. I mean, because it's your standard one that you would think of as that, right? Like, because
yeah, absolutely,
you're gonna have this. It's a serious, based on real events story. This is your like of the year film that you're expecting,
right? Yeah, it's totally the one that when my kids came home from watching, I'm like, did they say it? Did he say the thing? It's. Because Oppenheimer's known for the his quote from the, I forget. I'm going to have it wrong and I'm going to make somebody mad. I hope not. But what is a Hindu text or something? I am become death. Destroyer of worlds. Right. That's yeah. I'm like, so did he say it? They're like, yeah, it was said in there. It's like, okay.
Well,
it's just one of those things that people know. You know what I mean?
Right. If he doesn't say that one, then they're like, well, what did he say?
Right.
Like, so yeah, it's.
I do want to just make note here that, and I gotta say, I don't know if these numbers are adjusted for inflation or not, but you have to go back. Like, okay, do we want to count the Star Wars Clone Wars film? Like, first 3-4 episodes of the Clone Wars ever, right? That they put in a movie and ran in theaters.
Why did it do really bad?
Yeah, it was $14 million opening weekend. It's like, it's for what it was, respectable.
Yeah, I would say
but
it's not bad.
You go all the way back to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Its opening weekend was $64 million. So, handily beating, the Marvels. It's, in order to get like opening weekend numbers versus Star Wars, you got to go all the way back to the original trilogy, which makes me believe these numbers are not adjusted for inflation, because you're talking opening weekend of Return of the Jedi is $23 million. It's I don't know, feels low to me.
What's the numbers you're looking at?
What do you mean? Like
you said, it seems low to you.
Well, I mean, it's opening weekend for Return of the Jedi in 1983. $23 million.
Oh yeah, it's not adjusted.
Right.
No way.
Well, opening weekend for A New Hope is $1.5 million.
And and I don't want to trigger anyone with this statement, but if you adjust it to today's inflation,
right? Yes, but okay, so bring that back into the mix. That stuff like that could also be having an effect on how movies are doing at the theaters today. It's, people are going to start making the decision. It's like, okay, okay. Let me just put it this way. I saw a meme that made me laugh out loud because, we were all feeling it. The most expensive vehicle to operate in 2023, shopping cart. So, come on, that's funny, Joe. So, I'm just saying, groceries are expensive, gas is expensive. Hey, maybe let's not go out to the movies this week. It could be a thing.
It's probably a thing.
So, we can't discount that when it comes to, how well movies are doing. And, I think it all falls right in line with everything that we talked about. Just the experience and everything,
Yeah, so I'm looking at these box office numbers for The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And I don't think that opening weekend is adjusted because domestic box office total was $474 million.
There we go.
Okay. So that $474 million, though.
Yep.
This seems high to me, but maybe it's not. Adjusted for inflation-adjusted domestic box office, $950,984,000
for The Phantom Menace.
For The Phantom Menace. Inflation-adjusted domestic box office is $950 million. Almost $951 million.
So that is total domestic box office, though.
Yes, domestic.
Right. Yes.
It's actual, like I said, actual domestic box office was $474 million.
Right. I got that number here too.
Yeah. Worldwide, it was $1 billion.
Okay, so we could probably do this. Hold on. Let's see.
Actually, yes. So that is definitely not adjusted.
Right.
Because I'm looking at the number here. Opening weekend, $64 million. That was 13.7% of total gross, and his total gross was $474 million. So yeah, that's probably about 13%, right?
Yeah, something like that. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to convert this because, we have technology here. So $64 million in 1999 is about $118 million today.
Yes.
Okay, so
episode 1 kicked the Marvel's ass.
Yes, it did. Wow. Okay. All right, we're going to try something else then. Just because, why not? Because I'm just saying, it's stuff we can do here.
Oh, yeah. So I just did the numbers here. So the $474 million.
Yeah.
13.7% of that is 64,810,000. Like that's the original box office. So it's not adjusted.
Right.
So yeah, it did about $100 million then adjusted.
Yeah. 118. Yep.
Yep. So very respectable.
Yeah, totally. It's funny though. A New Hope, it's still opening weekend, but I think it had a kind of like a rolling start. That's the thing about A New Hope when it first came out, because I don't think it was in all theaters right away. But it's 1.5 million opening weekend equates to about 7.6 million. But again, I think that rolled into theaters slowly as opposed to hitting everywhere all at once.
Right. Oh yeah, episode 1 was definitely a slow rollout.
No, episode 4 I'm talking about.
Oh, episode 4, yeah.
77. So.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Yeah, the real episode 1.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know. The streaming services, all the stuff we have to choose from, how we're going to spend our money, how we're going to spend our time. I think it's slowly changing, and it's it happened with the music industry, and I got a feeling the film industry is going to scratch and claw and go down kicking,
Well, I mean, even before COVID, the writing was on the wall. You saw the changes that movie theaters were making.
Oh, yeah.
To make a night at the movies more of an experience.
Sure.
Because, I mean, the thing they're going to have to fix is like, okay, yeah, cool. You got recliners.
Right.
You got, beers and mixed drinks and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, like if you're going to make a beer $16.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to work out so great. But it's
that the problem with that, and I hate to say it because I don't want to, denigrate anything they were fighting for, but the strike is going to prove in conflict with what you're just talking about. You're going to have to sell that beer for $16 to get the theater to run because they got to pay so much for the film to license the film to play it. You know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think what they just did here is drive another one of those death nails into that coffin. Like,
yeah.
Because you're right. The movie theaters are not going to be able to sustain this.
Right.
The trend is right now that the theater is not what people want. And unless you can figure out how to actually generate this revenue from the streaming services, which, I mean, okay, when we did the South Park thing.
Yes.
I had to subscribe to Paramount Plus to do that.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, I get a trial, right? So I'll get the trial and I'll check it out. I will say, okay, I'm looking at the offerings on Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And I'm really liking what I see.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, I mean, maybe I can run this to watch some more stuff. It's only $5.99, right?
Right.
And then I'm watching. Like I go and I catch up on the Halo series that I never got to watch because it was only on Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And I'm watching. Man, the commercials were worse on Paramount Plus than they are on TV.
Yes.
Okay.
That gets
the frequency, the length, it was terrible.
Yep. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you $6 to see more commercials than I see on TV.
It's amazing that way. Yeah.
I mean, damn.
I will say, I think,
and I know that makes me sound cheap.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not going to give you $6 to see more commercials, but you are getting this money. Like, and the commercials I'm seeing, I'm sorry, and this is going to sound wrong too. Those are big money commercials.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is I believe Paramount Plus does this too, but you get the little bug in the corner that counts down how long of commercials are going to be. It's like, 180 seconds? Okay. I'm heading to the bathroom. I'm going to grab myself another drink and I'll be back.
Right.
And
you know what? With that being said out loud, how can those commercials be that lucrative?
I don't know.
When you know that people are going to go, oh, wow, I got 180 seconds. I can go do all this stuff.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. The how intrusive commercials are now is so bad.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, get on YouTube now, right? Like,
Oh, sure. That's
Oh,
the
my-
worst.
every video you play is a new one, and like it's like, oh god.
And yeah, at the beginning, and then you get like, I don't know, 40 seconds into a video, and there's another one.
And you know what? And you know what really pisses me off?
Here we go.
What really pisses me off is when I'm on a channel that I know is not ad supported.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
When I know that I'm watching content from a creator who is not making any money from these commercials that you are stuffing in front of my face,
Right.
that bothers me.
Yep. I agree.
You are. I understand you're providing a hosting platform and things like that, but I feel like it's more intrusive than the bandwidth costs. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So. And it obviously covers more than the bandwidth cost because you share it with the ones that have the high bandwidth. So.
Right.
But maybe that's how YouTube makes up for it. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know. I just
okay, here's another thing on YouTube that's getting me.
Uh-oh.
Are you having this issue, Doug? Are you a Spanish speaker?
Oh. I am not.
Do you get a ton of Spanish ads all of a sudden?
Enough to notice, for sure.
Okay, well, I it's probably not a ton, but
Right.
it is definitely enough for me to go, why the hell am I getting a Spanish ad again?
Exactly.
And it's not just like that they're talking in Spanish, like the text is in Spanish.
Right.
I'm like, I have no idea what the hell you just tried to advertise to me.
Exactly.
Because I hate to break it to you, I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, me neither.
So,
You're just waiting for that skip ad button to come up.
yeah, and they're taking that away more and more.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right.
Like, they're taking that away more and more. The skip,
Oh, yeah, I know.
the forced ads are becoming more and more.
True.
Which I get it, right? YouTube, I get a little more. Because, look, anyone can post on YouTube.
Sure.
So YouTube's got to pay the bills.
Yep.
I get that. But on Paramount Plus, the frequency and stuff like I'm paying you. Granted, it's not much, but I'm paying you.
Right. Yeah, it does make it hard to swallow. That's for sure.
Right. When I'm watching the content from 1995, your overhead's not super high.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Actually, some of it was older than that because I also took the time to watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original series.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, yeah, that didn't cost you much. Not for the ads I watched.
Right.
Not for the ads I watched. Those episodes were like 18 minutes. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I saw like 4 ads.
Wow.
Like 4 ad blocks in like 18 minutes. I was like, come on.
That's amazing. Well, what we have
almost had my $6.
to, what we have to do is just get more Star Wars back into theaters, right?
I don't think that's the solution.
Hey, Taika Waititi's still working on his Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah. And okay, I'm gonna read his comments out of order.
Excellent.
Okay, and I want you to tell me if it still makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. He says, my thing is, I want to take my time with that to get it right. I don't want to rush this movie. Right?
Sounds good.
I want to take my time with that and get it right.
Right.
So it sounds like he really wants to focus on this and make sure it's good.
Right.
But the thing he said before that, I've got about 4 other scripts that I'm trying to finish.
Whoa. Wait a minute. So taking your time with Star Wars means I'm going to hold off on that until I'm done with this other crap.
Right. And how many did he have before he signed on for Star Wars? I didn't think it was that many.
Didn't think so either.
So that means he's added stuff and pushed it in front of Star Wars?
I get that impression, yes.
Okay. Now, if you read it in order, it sounds all right. Like, I've got about 4 scripts I'm trying to finish. My thing is I want to take time with that and get it right. Sounds like, I need to clear my plate because Star Wars needs to be my focus.
Right.
But I feel like this comment that he's made, like he wants to take his time and make sure it's right, is a comment he's made before.
Yeah.
I don't remember about 4 other scripts he was trying to finish.
No, me neither.
Showing up in the other stuff.
I hate to almost sound this way, but it almost makes me believe he's like, okay, look, I know I can make some bank on this other stuff. I don't even know if the Star Wars thing is going to actually pan out all the way through. So,
well, that's fair. If he says that,
you know what I mean? It almost sounds that way to me. Oh, that's horrible. But when you look at the track record of people getting put in charge of Star Wars movies, it's like, what else would you think?
Right. I mean, okay. You know what? Now that you put it that way, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I kind of get it. Like, why would you prioritize a project that you are unsure that you're even going to get to finish?
Exactly.
Once it gets to the powers that be.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he's doing. He's adding stuff along the way and like, okay, if there's some changes over there,
yeah,
I'll get to work.
It's possible. I mean, I just, you have to wonder at this point. What these creators are thinking and feeling. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do it because it's Star Wars and I've always wanted to do Star Wars, but I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit, And you can't blame them for that, because it's all business for them.
Right. But, I mean, remember, Kathleen Kennedy said Taika's a little slow.
She did say that, which I thought, wow, man, that's kind of rude, but okay.
Yeah.
She did say worse things in South Park, just saying.
Yeah, her guest appearance in that didn't go so well.
No, not at all.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Yeah. What else we got here? We got any more Star Wars? Okay, yeah, we got one more Star Wars thing, I think.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
What is it?
So, Jedi Survivor.
Oh, okay, yep.
This is little. But Jedi Survivor has gotten a Grammy nomination for the best score for a video game.
Ooh.
So,
Cool.
It makes sense that if you're going to have a best score in a video game, if Star Wars isn't a contender,
right,
they didn't make that game right.
So, yeah, exactly. So is this all original music then for this game?
No.
No? Okay. So you're gonna have some classics and
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Good.
it's probably all based on the music by John Williams, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, I would think. Okay.
you know, you're gonna. I mean, obviously, there's new music because you can't just throw a John Williams soundtrack on something else and expect it to work out.
Right.
Even though you're dealing with, you know, the gaming community and stuff, and you're going to have a lot of gamers that aren't super Star Wars fans. Super Star Wars fans are going to notice, like, wow, you just straight up took like all the stuff from the other movies and stuff. There's
Yeah.
nothing new.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, we're all about hitting on the old notes, but you got to change it up.
Right. Okay, cool.
So, yeah, that's something for Star Wars creators to look forward to. All right. Wow, we actually made it 40 minutes on Star Wars. I mean, granted, tangents,
I
but
was going to say, we were kind of all over the place, just to be fair.
yeah. I mean, I should say Star Wars Disney stuff.
Yes.
So we threw some Marvel in there. Yeah, and we were a little defending of Marvel. So yeah, take that.
Ooh, yeah. This is a crazy world going on.
Craziness.
Once upon a midnight dreary, as I pondered weak and weary, there came a knocking at my back porch.
He ain't very original, is he?
Now we're at week 3 of our look at the fall of the House of Usher.
Right.
So, well, let's do it. Let's do it like we do everything else. What did you think of this episode, Doug?
Okay. It was good. It fell right in line with what we've seen so far in the story. You know, taking the story for face value and just kind of watching it through like that. It's kind of like another episode in the series, you know, but in some ways it almost had the feeling of like a setup episode to me, you know, like a little less climactic, but
I would agree, and it did not hit on its namesake like the prior episode did.
right. Yes.
Like the last one, it was very much an echo of the poem that it was titled after.
Yes.
Whereas this one, that part is just the ending.
Yeah.
Because did you get the chance to listen to the story? This one's not a poem; it's a short story, right?
I don't think I hit this one actually. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, the bulk of this story is an investigation the whole time into
Okay.
the murder.
Oh, okay.
So, I feel like this story would have been better served if the death would have happened early, and then kind of discussed a little along the way. They didn't have to really hit on it. They could have hit on both Prospero's death and Camille's death,
Right.
and kind of made it work. But I understand they didn't want to do an episode about an investigation into Camille's death.
Right.
It wouldn't have. Because what they did do here is they are really hitting the fall of the House of Usher story really well.
Yes.
Because Roderick's going mad.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So
yes. Okay, so you went right to the part of this that I think is really hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, how they're taking such a short story. Because, okay, The Fall of the House of Usher is like one of the shortest of these Edgar Allan Poe poems.
Yeah.
But somehow it's the overarching story.
Yes. But it works in that context. You know, what we talked about with the very first episode of this, where, you know, it's the, you know, let's sit down across from each other, have some whiskey, and I got a story to tell you, and it's like flashback time. And it's like, it works out so well for this.
Yes.
And I don't know, in this episode, okay, I told you I wanted to say it, but this short lemon soliloquy was genius. It hits on like everything wrong with society. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it was a beautiful thing. I just gotta say, it was like, yeah, people need to say this more often. So if you haven't seen that part, you must just go watch that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, like it, I think, what's his name? The inspector. Or not the inspector, but the attorney.
The attorney.
I'm getting it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I can't believe I can't remember this right now.
it's Augustine something.
Right.
Augustine, or August Dupin. He's the attorney.
Okay.
It says C. August Dupin. So what the hell? All right, let me actually pull up the IMDb, because this is failing me right now. Maybe that'll give me the actual full name. No, but it just says C. August Dupin.
Interesting.
But either way, him.
Yeah.
His look of absolute horror, but also an acknowledgement of this, like, you're right.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that would work. It was, his reaction was next level. Very, very good acting.
Yes, it was.
Without saying a word. Like, because the real weight of that was just his facial expression, not before he even says anything.
Right. Yes. I have to agree. It was because he had the same reaction to, you know, the lesson, right? The lesson that Roderick is, you know, trying to teach all my kids, you know, when life hands you lemons, he repeats the same thing we all were about to repeat in our own head. You make lemonade. But no. What Roderick lays out for us is like, oh, this is how the world really works.
But I loved how he finishes it, you know, like, you know, after you do all this, then you sit down and drink that blank lemonade.
Exactly. Yes. Then you have yourself a glass of lemonade. Yeah.
Yep. It's like, damn.
Yep. It was genius. It made me really appreciate the show for, you know, at another level, really. So yes, for this being what I would call a what I call it, like a setup episode or something, like a transitional episode, that portion of it was just genius. So without
Oh, yeah,
without giving it all away, it's like you gotta make sure you're watching it, people, for sure.
yeah, and I'll say this, like referencing the original poem, and last week I alluded to like it's bad for Camille, and dude, I'll tell you what, when I got done this week, it was so hard not to watch the next episode.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I let it roll right into it, and I was like, nope, I can't do it.
Yeah, I almost did the same thing. Like I almost just went like,
yep,
but like no, you can't taint the discussion here,
right?
I mean, granted, I'm doing that a little just by listening to the Poe works,
right?
But I mean, with this episode, the only thing that spoiled was the Camille thing, right?
Yeah.
But listening to this story before I watched the episode, the only thing I knew was Camille, and in this it was a chimp, but in the other one it was a orangutan.
Okay.
So like, okay, cool. Like that's all it spoiled.
Right.
It's literally all it spoiled, and that's actually kind of almost a master stroke on its own.
Yeah.
Because you can be familiar with the story, you're gonna get the notes from the story, but what they're telling here is fresh.
Yes. Totally. I love that they're doing that. They're taking the primary beats of Poe's work and incorporating that into this new, fresh story. And, really, I think doing it a lot of justice with bringing it into a modern era in a new, a whole new feel, new plot line, new everything mashed together, and here you go. It's a fresh work,
And okay, so I'm gonna make a couple little predictions, right?
Okay.
Just using what we've seen so far, and I've gotten through almost all of the stories that are covered in the rest of these episodes.
Yep.
I'm not gonna go over next week is like, the black cat, right? Well, huh.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
And like, the weird thing is like, all I want to know is like, dude, what the hell happened at that party? But
yeah, really. Yeah. Apparently even the characters don't know.
Right. But so like, obviously they're telling the story of the fall of the House of Usher, so it's not looking good for Madeline.
Right.
Either his reference to her in the beginning that she's downstairs, so she's either in the little mausoleum thing they got going on down there,
right,
or she's sick and this attorney is going to help him take her to the crypt, and then she comes back.
It's possible, yeah,
one or the other, but she's coming back, right? She's dead but not dead,
right?
So there's that going for it. The other thing is, I had initially said things aren't looking good for Lenore.
Right.
I'm changing my story.
Yeah, I think so too.
Lenore is just going to be so disgusted by him. That's how she is his lost Lenore.
Right. Yes.
When she was walking up and overhearing the conversation a little bit.
Yep.
And then seeing her mom and what was going on, I was like, oh yeah, this is how he loses Lenore.
Yeah, and what she's hearing is Roderick telling his son, Lenore's father,
how you got to spin this.
Yeah, and this is on you. You should have had this taken care of already. Right. Basically, this is your fault. So, yeah, it's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good, and I think doing this in tandem, where you're going through the Poe stories, which I will say is difficult, right?
Sometimes it can be, yeah.
Like, we're just not, like, I read a lot. I read a lot, but I am not conditioned to read in this manner.
Exactly.
The way these stories are written, I am not familiar with this writing style because this is an old way of writing. So it's easy for me to get kind of tied up and like, okay, I got to go back and read that again. And then, oh, yeah, it makes sense now.
Well, I was just going to say, the style of writing that it is, it makes me want to say it's for a time when people, when they read, they focused on the reading they were doing. And they didn't have as many distractions going on. So having that focus on what they were reading, they could devote that attention to just as much the wordsmithing as what's being told. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's that, and literature was a different style of art for the time.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It was really, really, when you talked about the arts then, literature was definitely one of those.
Oh, totally.
Like you're talking in a time where not everyone can read.
True.
Right?
Yes.
So that not only that, but writers at that time, they tried to write in a manner that made them seem like the most intellectual of intellectuals.
Right.
Like that was almost kind of like the flex they were going for, was like, I got to be more intellectual than the other guy who's trying to be an intellectual.
Yeah.
Like it was just a different style of writing, because you're writing for the most well-educated people out there, because only the most well-educated people could even read. You know, like,
yeah, true.
I mean, Poe, it's not as bad in his time. This is when reading's becoming a little more widespread, but still, only educated people are reading at this time.
Yeah.
You're not writing for everyone. You're
right.
writing only for the educated.
It's true. Yeah, and those who can read but aren't of the level that Poe's writing to, they have the newspaper. That's that's
right.
That's kind of the attitude, I guess. Yeah.
And that's funny. That's funny that you say that, because if you compare Poe's writings that were written for like newspaper columns,
yep,
to the other writings, there's a difference.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's actually funny.
Yeah, it's a know your audience thing, right? I mean,
but yeah, it's a cool dynamic that they've created here. So, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered a story, right? That was going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even though we didn't really say much about it, but there just wasn't much in this episode. I gotta say, even though the run times are all very similar.
Yep.
There's minor variations. You're talking a couple minutes here and there.
Right.
This is not what we're used to. We've been watching Star Wars. It's
yeah.
You're talking 15-minute swings, dude.
Exactly.
But I'll say this one felt shorter than the other ones.
Agreed.
And I think that's because of the lack of real meat to it, because it's just a lot of really posturing for later.
That's how I felt about it. Yes, this is information we need to have for later on, but getting it wasn't exciting as
Yeah, because okay, look, Camille arguing with her
assistants,
yeah, and firing them and all that was a complete waste of time.
I agree.
Didn't even need to happen.
Right.
It didn't advance the story one bit. A lot of this other stuff, we have no idea. We have no idea if it's going to advance the story.
Right.
I'm pretty sure her brother is he's about to go on a crazy drug trip that's going to have the.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but like the next episode is the Black Cat, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And let's just see if I can write in a way that's gonna,
Right.
I think we're gonna see some very Pet Cemetery like vibes.
Yeah, probably.
This dude's gonna go on a crazy drug trip. Him and Verna and a black cat.
Yep, exactly.
Some wild stuff's gonna happen. It's really not gonna matter because he's just gonna die of an overdose.
Right. So, okay, you mentioned Verna. Her role in this is becoming,
which is funny because you mentioned Mark Hamill. You saw more out of him, right?
Yeah, that was at the beginning, right? It was, there was more to it than we've seen of Mark thus far, and I like that. It feels like he's going to become a larger and larger presence.
Oh, I mean this episode definitely shifted what he is.
Totally.
Because before he was the attorney that had all the right things to say.
Yeah.
Had all his bases covered.
Right.
He's a cleaner as well.
Yes. Absolutely.
Somehow he can get into that kind of crime scene.
Yeah. I don't know who you know. You got 10 minutes. Don't touch anything. That was good.
Yeah, then he's in there just touching this.
Oh, yeah.
I do like his first thing, though. He was looking for cameras.
Yep.
First thing. So, yeah, I did. And then you get to Verna. Like, also just a huge expansion on her role.
Yes.
She's in almost every scene.
Right. But, we talked about the anagram already with the name and how that plays into all this, but it's, she's the Raven, right? She's knocking on all their doors right now, So
I didn't even look at it that way.
It's kind of, how I was taking it. It's so, you're getting these post stories, and this little piece works from this angle, and that little piece works from that angle, from another story of his. But it's all meshing together really well. I got to say, I think there had to be so much thought put into this to make the story work as well as it has so far, and I can really appreciate that.
Oh, I will say the tag of horror that is in the show description.
Oh yeah,
was wrong.
Yeah,
it's not it is nowhere near a horror. I'll say that. Like, the thing that disappoints me about that is Crystal Ann didn't even really want to watch it.
Okay.
Like, she keeps getting interested at points because it's getting deep and stuff like that, so she'll stop and watch, and then it starts to get crazy. But and she's got this idea that it's going to be a horror.
Right.
It's like, okay, it only gets crazy for a second.
Yeah.
Thriller would be about as far as you can push this.
Yeah. And mainly a suspense, kind of thing.
Suspense, thriller.
Yep.
Like murder mystery. Like
Yes.
it fits all these like notes, but like that horror tag that's on there is like really misleading.
Yeah.
Unless it gets crazy at the end, which it could.
It could.
But I mean, they even tamed down, like, it's not like they showed this chimp beating the hell out of her,
Right.
That would have been some horror shit. They didn't do that. They just flash to it. She takes a picture. That was a cool scene, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing Verna's face, and then she pulls up the cell phone camera, and it's the chimp. That was awesome.
Awesome. And
masterful.
I will say, I liked her phrase there, too. I got mine. And it was like, oh, okay.
Really, really fits her attitude.
Yep. She's resigned to what's going to happen.
Yep.
Oh, man.
So. Yeah, it was really good.
It's funny because when you go back and think about you know, her and this day, you know, oh my God, this day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and this is how your day ends.
all they would have said, like, she didn't say how could it get any worse, right?
Right.
Like, if she would have, that would have been perfect.
Right.
Like, oh, you don't know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would have said that. Because, like I said, I listened to the story beforehand, and I was like, I know how it could get worse.
Exactly.
But before we get out of here, it wouldn't be our review of the fall of the House of Usher without looking for some Easter eggs.
Oh, right. Yes.
So first up, Doug, you brought one to my attention, which I was super like, yes, Doug's on board with the Easter eggs.
Yes. It was small. It was small, and
it doesn't matter how small.
I know. It was just in their quick conversation. What's her name? I forget her name. Anyway.
Madeline?
Yeah. No, was it Madeline? No, it was the sister. Was it?
Madeline.
Okay. Anyway, she just mentions something about breaking you up in a closet, which I remembered from. Okay, I can't.
Oh yeah, I have it.
You have it right. The cask.
Yeah, I get why you're hung up on it. The cask of Amontillado.
Right. Right. So from that
Amontillado.
Yeah.
That's what we're going with.
Yeah. So in that story, yes, somebody gets bricked up behind a wall alive. So it's, you know, just a nice little reference, something that I remembered from the story. So, but they're putting little things like that in, just like I said, it was just so quick in casual conversation, but there it was. So.
Yeah, right on.
What'd you have? Because I think yours is a little more meaty.
All right. So we mentioned Verna's multiple appearances.
Yes.
In one of them, she's this woman in a clinic there who is having heart problems.
Right.
Lives with heart problems. And they refer to her as Vic. Is it Victoria or I can't remember the name of her character.
Right.
She's referred to as Vic.
Right.
Victorine.
Yes.
Victorine.
Victorine. Yeah.
Or Victorian. I don't know. Victorine, Victorian, whatever it is.
Right.
Pronunciations are going to be out the window with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I just looked at how that Amontillado is supposed to be pronounced, and I'm not even going to attempt that.
Okay.
We're going with Amontillado.
I like it.
But the one Vic talks to, runs into in the hallway, almost, dumps her coffee, super pissed about it. Verna on the other side. Actually, didn't realize that until I was watching closer. But yeah, when Vic takes that file back into the other room,
right,
and starts taking photos, you see the driver's license, right?
Yeah.
So the address listed on the driver's license is 1849 Reynolds Street.
Okay.
1849 being significant because that is the year of Edgar Allan Poe's death.
Ooh, okay.
And Reynolds Street being significant because there's a legend about Poe's condition when he was meeting his final end, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how else to put it when you're talking about, like, when you read the stories about how he went out, it's like, wow, it kind of like he kind of went completely mad, right? Like it's like he's going out like so many of his characters.
Excellent.
So it's like it no one really knows, right?
Right.
They don't really document like minute by minute of people's death. It's just not how it works in the real world.
Right.
But there's always stories, and stories get blown up or out of proportion, whatever. But allegedly, in his madness, on his deathbed, Edgar Allan Poe was calling out for someone called Reynolds.
Oh.
So 1849 Reynolds Street is just a reference to Poe's death.
And this imaginary person he's calling for.
Yes.
Excellent.
Like that is one of the cool things about this. Like this attention to detail that they're putting in to make sure that they're weaving all this into the story.
Oh yeah.
But not affecting the way they're telling a story.
This is for Star Wars fans, we get this, right? This is catching the 1138s here and there and stuff, I mean,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? This is knowing your original work and doing it credit by incorporating all this fine detail. It's really awesome.
And some of the things that have been uncovered and I'm not uncovering these, right? I'm just like I'm looking at scene by scene. I'm looking up little tidbits here and there, and like I'm stumbling on these things.
Sure. As
well as doing broad searches, like, okay, what did I miss?
Right.
And still trying to like avoid the next episode. So like I have to be really careful here.
Exactly.
I'm sure at the end we'll probably be able to do an entire episode of all the Easter eggs.
Oh, this is good. I like this.
Well, I mean, because I'll be able to broaden my search.
Right.
Because I'm trying to not spoil future episodes. So I'm trying to be very specific to this episode.
Right.
There's probably 15 more Easter eggs in this episode.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I'm trying not to spoil this thing for me. So I'm trying to stay very, very confined in my search. And then the other thing I'm having to do here, and this is why this is getting so wild, but yet so fun for me, is I can search for Easter eggs in the episode. But then I got to take that initial search and broaden it and compare different stories of it. Because if I would have just ran with my first search result on this stuff, I would have got that, oh yeah, he went mad. He's calling out for this, and this. He's calling out for Reynolds, this, and that. Broaden my search, I find out, well, there's stories.
Right.
People that were there said this, and this, but there's chances it may be lies. So it became a legend.
Gotcha.
You can't say it's fact because there's things that may make it not fact.
Right. So,
yeah, it's funny because you look up these Easter eggs and then you got to search even further because there's conflicting stories everywhere.
Right.
Edgar Allan Poe is much more interesting of a man than I ever thought.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
Like, this dude lived a life.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you know what? You're right. You said you like that idea. I think we can compile and go over the stuff that we already talked about as well. Yep. But we should just do an Easter eggs finale to it.
I like that. Yeah.
And we can utilize that whole time too to just compare the similarities between the Poe stories and this show.
Yeah.
Hell, maybe we'll do 2 episodes. We do a wrap up where we actually talk about the story that is the Fall of the House of Usher TV series.
Right.
And then we do another one where we compare the Edgar Allan Poe stories and go through all the Easter eggs.
Wow. Okay.
That gives us 2 more weeks of content. It's crazy.
Absolutely. This is Yeah, this was a boardroom meeting right here on
right,
on podcast.
Live to tape.
We do it live. Yes,
Live to tape.
love it.
But yeah, I mean, and Doug, it's gonna be the third week in a row. I still got to throw praise at you for this one.
Oh,
I know you threw a dart at the board.
It was.
And we got one, but this is fun.
Good.
This is fun, and I hope anyone watching along is having as much fun as we are.
Exactly. That's what I hope too. Yeah. This is definitely the more portion of our show, and I hope I hope this becomes a thing for us, because I'm sure there's plenty of other content out there for us to dig into.
Well, I think the lesson here for us is we're going to continue the boardroom meeting.
Right.
I think the lesson for us here is, we need to broaden our horizons on what we're going to look at for and more.
Yes.
Because it took us really stepping. We've tried to do it, and those who have been listening for a long time, and thank you.
Yes.
But those who have been listening to a long time have heard our attempts at this over the years.
Yep.
And we always try to stay right in the wheelhouse of Star Wars, comic books, science fiction.
Yes. Marvel, DC.
Not even realizing that the Star Wars wheelhouse really does open us up to a very broad spectrum of cinema, poetry, stories, legends, mythology.
Right.
Like the stuff that George Lucas taps into.
Yeah.
It's so broad. Like we could end up down rabbit holes like this with Star Wars. We've done it.
Absolutely.
We've done it. And the fun thing here for us is this is triggering our Star Wars like brains.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. When we look at Star Wars, we look at it with like, oh, I wonder what that meant.
Totally.
And this show is doing a good job of triggering that for us, and it makes it really, really fun.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it was a dart at the board, but it's finally a hit.
Heck yeah.
Finally a hit. I still think Dune would be a hit. I'm just saying.
Dune?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know. You struggled with it, but I think if you get through the whole thing.
Okay. Hey, I would have to give it a shot. Just saying. It's, I'll try again, Joe.
All right. And with that, if y'all have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media at The Wars and More on X, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think we've about covered it.
All right. We will talk next week.